Welcome to the Find Your Voice, Change Your Life podcast with psychologist Dr. Doreen Downing. Listen in as Doreen interviews people who felt they didn't have a voice or who suffered extreme speaking anxiety. You'll hear stories about how they struggled to speak up, what they did to find their authentic voice, and the confidence they now feel to speak up and make an impact. If you want to get started right away to find your voice, download Doreen's free 7-step guide to fearless speaking at doreen7steps.com. And now, here is Doreen.
Hi, this is Dr. Doreen Downing, host of the Find Your Voice, Change Your Life podcast. I have to tell you that I am totally in love with this woman I'm going to be presenting and highlighting today. It's amazing how we are attracted to people just on the internet. I have not met Alison before, but my body has little tingles on it because of amazing magnetism when we are drawn to somebody who is truly authentic, truly being themselves, and you just want to go, yay. That's what this podcast is about, and I'd like to introduce you to Alison Love David. Hi, Alice. I have a bio, but I just wanted to say hi first.
Oh, hi, Doreen. It's so funny that you said that you're in love with me because I'm in love with you.
Well, that's what magnetism is. Yeah.
Yes, and just the way that we're on the same mission, but also the way you hold that is just beautiful. You have magnetism that makes me want to listen to you. Yeah, I'm a fan. It's wonderful.
Oh, well, we get to be in our shared love moment, and the guests today, my listeners out there, get to participate and learn how to be even more authentic from somebody like you who is way bold and brilliant out there using her voice. Alison Love David is a soulful singer, artist, and medicine woman with a magnetic stage presence and 28 years experience. Having discovered the healing powers of the voice and worked through her fears of being seen, she is passionate about encouraging other people out of hiding. Alison coaches people to feel comfortable with their uniqueness and, from that place, find their sense of belonging, communicate from the heart. I just love this. Communicate from the heart and share their gifts with the world. And here we are. So, people, you see what I'm up to today is sharing, because we don't just all of a sudden become this human being. It comes from our journey, our travels, our challenges, our traumas. So it's usually where I like to start the first part of the podcast. It's to say, hey, Alison, where did you have early life experiences? And it looks like you're getting your camera all ready here, huh? Lighting or something?
Yeah, I was looking a bit bright, and so I love that you ask this question. I've listened to a few of your podcasts, and I guested on a podcast recently where somebody did that, and I didn't ask that question. So, where did I begin? Where did my beginnings happen?
Yes.
Is that I grew up in Southeast London. That's how we speak round there.
Oh,
Yeah, I grew up in Southeast London, so I would have ended up speaking like this, but I became posh. In England, if you're posh, if you're like a different class, like middle class, upper class, you can't tell where somebody comes from. They don't have a regional accent. And so I've got a bit of a regional accent, but I poshified because otherwise I would have talked like that. That's where I started. I was very lucky in that I was quite clever, and my mum sent me to a private school. That's how I got a bit more posh. So what exactly did you want to know?
well, that was a great beginning because there's a context. I know it's an environment, but yes, it's a community that you're brought into first. And obviously, your mother must have had a vision of something to add to your life experience other than what you landed in if she sent you to a private school. Is that true?
Yeah, I was quite bright when I was at the infant school, which is like up to the age of 7. So they suggested that she send me to a private school. My mum was really sweet. Unfortunately, I don't think I really understood how generous she was, because she went to university and got a degree so that she could pay my school fees. And so for the middle school, which is like age 7 to 11, she was doing a degree. And we came from a poor family. Like, we didn't have a TV or an iron or a telephone. We just about got a telephone when I was 11, when I went to this private school. So she actually got that education, not just for me, but partly so that I could go to a fee-paying school. And so that was amazing.
Yeah, I can see the appreciation and the gratitude you have for that experience. So what did she get a degree in? Or what was she
She got a
studying?
Bachelor of Education to be a teacher.
Mhm.
So she started doing supply teaching. I can't even imagine. And music was her subject, I believe.
Uh-huh.
Gosh.
So you have some roots in music
I
yourself,
have a
don't
musical
you?
family, yes. And that with music, because I'm a singer by profession, I've been properly coaching for a couple of years now. Although before that, I'd occasionally coach people. But yeah, my family were religious and musical. So I grew up in a church environment. And when you have a musical background, it means that you already have a huge head start in your musicality, things that other people don't conceive, you already know.
Mhm, mhm. Name one thing that might be something we
I
don't.
had a client and she didn't even notice when some music was the same, like a verse of a song or something had exactly the same melody as the chorus, or she wouldn't recognize that, oh, that part is exactly the same as that part,
Uh-huh.
which to me is like so obvious, but she hadn't conceived. That's just one thing. But people don't even know like high note, low note. They don't even know things like that necessarily if they haven't grown up with it. Whereas for me, it's just second knowledge. So one has to take that into account. We don't all have the head start in certain departments that could be taken for granted if we've come from a background where that's normal.
I hear that there's two things that I just realized about what you just said about musicality and getting in tune with it early. There's a listening, an ear for it, right? But then you also did this range of high to low, and I probably could go high and I could go low. I mean, high and low, but I wouldn't know really what those, like there's octaves and there's all sorts of things. But before we go off on talking about music, I want to come back because I know that something happened or some context, some way. I mean, you're talking about church, you're talking about a mother who sacrificed for you, also developed herself, but something in the times when we come out in the world and say, hey, here I am, something might have held you back. Mindset, projection, I don't know. Let's try and pin down first. What was the struggle for you
Well,
early?
I think my mother was quite strict and quite needy and very, very religious. And I was not okay to be myself. If the truth, I just had to be a people pleaser to keep her happy. I had an older brother who was naughty, and I watched him make mistakes and just played it safe, kept her sweet. In that respect, I didn't allow myself to be myself, and I didn't even know who myself was because of keeping her sweet. I did be a rebel at school and I was a bit of a wild, rebellious person, rebelled against authority. But at home, this person, your caregiver, your primary caregiver, is so strong. I had to just be whatever she needs, keep her happy. And so, as years on, I learned that I didn't even know who I was. I didn't so busy being anything people wanted me to be, and being a chameleon, or as it became shapeshifter, is a great skill, but it's very important to know who we are. And so yeah, I think finding my voice has been a journey of understanding what my needs are, not compared to what everybody else wants me to be. So even at school, I was really good at mathematics and I liked art. And they said, oh, you should do mathematics. So I went to university to do that instead of art. And then I dropped out. All my life, when people have said, oh, you should do this, I just did it. Then sort of working out, well, hang on, what do I want? Interestingly, even with the music, when you were just talking about it, when you've got people with authority who know things, like the teacher saying you should do mathematics, or the musicians who know music and terminology and I don't, and they go, oh, you should do this, and it's like, okay, and it's so far removed from what I really want. The way I'd know that in my body would be this terrible feeling of despair. I've always been really happy and bouncy, and then every now and again just feel this terrible feeling of despair because I was completely off path to what really felt right for me.
Uh-huh. Yeah, the knowledge, the self-awareness is what you're saying is so important. But that need to fit in, and this is today, our listeners are probably relating to this because most of us are growing up in societies and cultures, and what we get taught is how to fit in. That's what status quo is, and that's how society says this is what the path is for you. I am so impressed that you look back and say that you were a people pleaser and you really could see now looking back how you, I was going to use a word, suffered, and the despair, I guess, is the suffering that you're talking about.
Yeah, so I would get upset, going along with something this is so different from what I really want would be a deep upset. I remember when I had a boyfriend at 17, and the mother of my boyfriend remembered this moment when my bubble burst. And it was the day that I realized I had three people who I loved: my mum, my best friend, and my boyfriend at the time. And all three of them misunderstood me. So they'd accuse me of saying things I didn't say. And I've discovered I'm quite a literal person, but I guess they were feeling that I was masking what I really felt. And so they were using their imagination to imagine what I was really saying. I was probably passive aggressive. I didn't know that till years later. All three of them just didn't get me. I was like, how can you say that I said that? Because I didn't. And then I had this realization. I was 17 one day, that the realization was that I didn't ever say no. I didn't ever say stop it. I don't like it. I just didn't use any negative language. I didn't perceive negativity. And so they had to use their imagination because they knew that there must be something. So that point, when the boyfriend's mum said that my flame went out, because I just thought I was lying to myself. I discovered that I didn't trust myself because I didn't even know what I was feeling. I didn't have the language of no. I didn't have I don't like this in my own language. So I was lying to myself. I completely fell out of love with myself. I mean, not out of love. I just distrusted myself. Slowly I've understood that, but it's been a long journey. It took a lot of years for me to really go, hang on a minute, I can be all right with myself. That was like decades.
Yeah, beautiful. It is true that it does take decades. You're reminding me of a time in my life where I was part of a community, and they were confronting me about something and saying, don't you feel guilty? And I went, I don't know. What does that feel like? I mean, they were actually trying to wake me up to say, what are you really feeling? I know what that feels like to not know what you're feeling. And it's such a disconnection. You talked about school. And I think for me, school, it was where I got the grades and I knew how to please. I knew how to get the A's. And for me, that was the front that I had. The image I put out is I'm a good girl. I'm a smart girl. I'm homecoming queen. I'm out there. I'm popular. But behind me is this little one who doesn't know what the heck she's doing. She's just making it up. The teachers are saying, yay, little one, good for you. Go out there. I remember the turning point for me was being confronted by this group of women who was saying, hello, Doreen, what are you really feeling about this situation? And I didn't know.
How old were you then?
I'd finished my college and I was in this group, and it was my first job. That's when I realized school was the container. I'm just realizing that right now, Alison, is that school kept me, I knew what to do in that environment. Go out into the world. Who am I?
Yeah.
I'm getting my first job and I'm part of a group. If there aren't teachers telling me that I know what I'm doing and I'm getting the grade, which is the feedback. So I just got that. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I really felt what it's like to be confronted and really not know. And then wake up to, well, how do I know? So, yes, it is a journey. It was a journey. I did take my first personal development class way back then, assertiveness training. You talk about no. That was my first one.
Do you know, I had a client last year who every morning he tunes into how he's feeling, and I still don't know how I'm feeling. I know more about who I am and what I want and what I'm passionate about, but how I'm feeling. So I do this meditation in the morning I listen to, and he says, check in with your feelings. What I've learned is that I can't always name my feeling because my brain wants to assess what I'm feeling as a word, but I can make a sound because I'm into the sound, the medicine of your voice. I can make a sound for how I'm feeling, which is even still quite hard because I'm so in my head that to really get it into the body is a different thing. So I've just moved and I was looking for a house, trying to manifest this amazing house. And somebody was like, can you visualize like a feeling for the house? And I couldn't because I'm still learning the language of feeling. But then I was like, I know the sound of my new house, and it's and when I do that sound, I can feel the feeling too.
Oh,
And so the sound is my access to so many things. And so now I can use sound. So I try and do a sound for the morning, and then I can like observe the sound.
wow. Oh, I have to take a break and we'll be back in just a minute here, but I am so inspired already. I keep learning from you today. And I'm sure people are learning. I've never heard that expression of a sense of feeling that comes through sound. So we'll come back and talk about that in just a minute. Thank you.
If you want to get started right away to find your voice, download Doreen's free 7-step guide to fearless speaking at doreen7steps.com.
Hi, we're back today with it's my daytime and Allison's nighttime. So it's night or day wherever everybody else is. And Allison is just blowing me over today with so much of not only her authentic energy, telling her story and how she was a good girl and how she has learned to find what it feels like through sound rather than just a thought, oh, I am feeling something, and then being able to label it. It's a whole new process. So that's what we're coming back to right now is this new journey to be more vocal. It's not just about public speaking. It's about really knowing the truth of who you are and how you find that truth.
I have a couple of friends, one of them is autistic, who think that I'm autistic. And it could be something to do with that I don't have the need to find the words for my feelings. It just gets in the way. I also have traits with ADHD and things like that. So I think this way of using sound to access things with autism as well is like they have heightened senses. And so I think using the sound helps me in so many ways. I don't know if this is relevant, but I used sound like moon cups that women use when they're menstruating. I tried to put mine, I had to use sound to let me know whether I put it in right. When I'm at the health club and they have like a locker with buttons and keys, I use sound to tell me that I've locked it right. And I use sound with food. If I've cooked something in the microwave, I use sound to hear if it's sizzling. Like it's so interesting.
If people are signing in right now, please go back to the beginning because we talked about music and how Allison very early learned how to hear tones, and that was her early musical background. So I just connected the dots there with what you learned early on. already.
Mm. Mm. Yeah, we both work with the voice, and the voice is a sound tool, right? So we're using the medicine of sound, and also we have the voices in our heads as well that don't actually make a sound, an audible sound, but it's still like we call it the voices in our heads. For example, I work with myself and my clients and make up these little ditties, these mantras, I call them, that help to reprogram our brains. It's called an earworm when a song is playing in your mind. Even though it's not audible, it's there. And you and I, we both play with the power of sound. The power of sound is amazing. Like in the beginning was the word, is in the Old Testament. 3 religions use that text. Then in the beginning was the Om, is, I don't know the exact words, but that's the Bhagavad Gita. So that's Hinduism. Not really sure if it's with Buddhism, but I know that the Sikh, the first 3 words are ek, ong, ka, and the second word ong is like om. So the second word is the sacred sound of the universe. So we're working with such a powerful tool.
Oh, wow. Yes. Yeah, I can feel your passion and your excitement, and you want to help people not just make sounds, you want to help them be more alive and to feel that natural life force that comes through. And it's your voice. We have it with us all day long and probably even in the nighttime, just a sense of being. What would you see? I see you looking at that. What did I just say that?
Just reminded me, I heard somewhere in a podcast, which I've taken, sometimes I take a screenshot of the podcast exactly the minute that somebody said that the hearing is the last thing to go when we die.
Oh. Yes. Yeah. Wow. I want to talk to you again and again. To how many podcasts can I have you back on? Because we're almost through today. So I want to make sure you get to talk about any more. You've talked about the medicine of voice, and you've just brilliantly pointed to the universal power of sound for us to line up more with our divinity, it sounds like, through sound. How do people find you? What are you up to right now? And
So my mission, my words, very similar to yours, is free your true voice. So I have freeyourtruevoice.com. There's not much going on there yet, but it would link you to me. And I have Free Your True Voice Facebook group. And so they're the 2 ways that you could find me. And then if you want to witness me freeing my true voice, just on Facebook, I'm Alison David Vocalist, which is Alison Love David is my profile. And that's where I like write poetry and talk about what's going on in my world and just allow myself to express who I am. So yeah, that's the work.
oh, I want people to point themselves right away. And I know I'm a part of your group. And what is wonderful, you join Alison's group, is that she sings to us. Now and then you'll get some transmission just by being in her presence and listening. Here, I got another aha from you. The way you listen, and this is partly what I teach, the way you listen to yourself and then express yourselves helps us to listen better to ourselves just by listening to you.
Oh wow, isn't that amazing?
All right, we're gonna have to just leave on that beautiful note of ahas. Thank you so much, Alison. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Yes.
Thank you for being with us today for this episode of Find Your Voice, Change Your Life. Each person Doreen interviews shares what has helped them find their voice. You can learn from these guests and find your voice so you can be confident to speak up and speak out. And remember to download Doreen's free 7-step guide to fearless speaking at doreen7steps.com. We hope you enjoyed the show and will return next time. Until then, goodbye for now.